Okay, so this is the rest of assignment 1 that's in your Blackboard. Okay, this will also help you with your worksheet. Okay, so this is going to be now where we're studying the eye shape and the shapes of the eyelid. Okay, because the shape of the eyelid matters when you are putting on artificial lashes. Okay, so there are different shapes to the eye itself. We've always talked about eyes that were close together, far apart, okay? This is the actual shape of the eye. So there's an almond shape. If you have an almond-shaped eye, they are equal proportion with a visible lid. Okay, so these are equal proportion. This is really, to me, what you're trying to get everyone's eye to look like the oval-shaped face. You want everyone to have like a nice almond-shaped eye, okay? Eyes, they are equal proportion. Okay, so you're going to use a pair of wispy, voluminous lashes. For added flair, go for lashes that are tapered or longer on the outer corner. Okay, so you're going to use voluminous. Okay, and then you're going to look for lashes that are longer on the outer corner. Okay, so when you have someone that you're going to do lashes on, you really have to look at them. You have to assess their eye shape, what kind of eye they have, because that's going to dictate to you what type of lash am I going to use? What kind of lash am I going to use? What is the shape of the lash? What is the length of the lash? Okay, now we go to the round, and I kind of did a little bit of a description on the round yesterday. Okay, this is the eye width and height are equal. Okay, this is equal proportions, but an eye with a width and the height are equal. So the eye looks more round. So it's a much broader through this part, and this part is the same. Okay, so we have width and height are equal. To accentuate the eye, go for long tapered lashes that are longer at the ends. Avoid short curly lashes to keep the eye from looking rounder, right? So you're going to use long tapered lashes, longer at the ends. Long tapered lash, okay? Longer at the ends, meaning the end of like the eye, like here, right? Avoid curly lashes because they're just going to make the eye look rounder, okay? Okay. Downturned. I kind of have downturned. I don't really notice that I have a downturned eye until I see myself in a photo. And my eye does go down a little bit, okay? So if someone has a downturned eye shape, that means there is a slight drop in the corner. It says to use a D or double D curl on the outer corner lash to give the illusion that the eye is lifted. So on the outside of my eye, on this outside, I want to use something that's longer and is curlier because it's going to give the illusion that my eye is lifted and open more, okay? That's all this whole thing is, you guys. Hair, eyelash application, it's smoke and mirrors. You're trying to make somebody look like they have something that they don't, okay? So that we can all wake up in the morning and take off our false lashes and our false teeth and our false butt lift and our false water bra and our Spanx and our fake hair. Oh my God. And then we're just a bunch of trolls, if you want to know the truth. So downturned, use a D or double D curl. Okay. on outer corner, because it makes that outer corner of the eye look like it is lifted. Then you have upturned eyes. Okay, if downturned is the outside corner is this way, upturned is it's headed towards the ceiling. Okay, so if that is the case, outer corners of the eyes turn upward and are higher than the inner corner. Go flatter at the ends. Okay, that's what it's telling you. Okay, if I'm down like this, I'm going to use something real curled to kind of fill that in and make my eyes look like they're wider, like they're open, and like my lid is open. But if I'm already like this, okay, I don't want to put something even longer on the edge or with a lot of curl. I'm going to use a flatter lash on the ends, or to me the ends is the outer corner, okay, and that is a B or C curl. So right now you've already learned something about the curls, right? The curlier they are, you know, the flatter they are, that's B, C, curlier, D, double D, even curlier, okay? Then we have a monolid, which I'm just going to keep writing down here because I do have room for it. Okay, a monolid is eyelids that have no crease. Okay, use medium length lashes, no longer than 12 millimeters. Usually with L or L plus curl to give the illusion of a creased lid, okay? So it is someone who does not have a creased lid. Eyelids have no crease. So in order for there to appear to be a crease, you're going to use lashes no longer than 12 millimeter. Okay. And an L or L plus curl. L or L plus curl. You're trying to give the illusion that their eyelid has a crease. Okay. So some lashes come way out and curl, and then some are flatter, okay? These are a little flatter. They're almost shaped like an L. They come out and then go up, okay? And for someone who doesn't have a lid, much of a lid, okay, it's going to make them look like they do, okay? You don't want it to come out because that's going to make the eye look real heavy and droopy, okay? And then we have the hooded eye. I'm going to write it up here on the top. I don't think it matters what order it's in. Then we have a hooded eye, okay? My little Lily, my adopted daughter from Siberia, she has hooded eyes. As you guys know, Siberia is in Russia, and it is an Asian part of the continent of Asia. And so she, believe it or not, has like a Siberian Eskimo is her part of her ethnic background, and my little stepdaughter has hooded eyelids due to that fact of her ethnic background. Okay, we're all who we came from, period, right? So in order of a hooded eye, eyes have a droopy over crease, making the lid look smaller. So she's kind of a cross between a monolid and a hooded eye, okay? But the hooded eye, it's a droopy over crease, and it makes the eyelid look smaller. So this does droops over the crease. If someone could shut the door, that would be great, okay? And by the crease, I'm talking when you close your eye, you see this crease right here, right? You see a crease between your eyelid and the upper structure of the eye, okay? Someone with a hooded eye this skin just hangs down over, okay? It's droopy. It also makes the lid will look smaller, okay? So the lid looks smaller. So what do you think when you go to put a lash on there? If the lid looks smaller, what are you trying to make it look when you put lashes on it? Bigger. You're trying to do just the opposite, right? Longer curly lashes work best to minimize that veil of skin that droops over the crease while bringing the focus upward toward the brow bone, okay? So you're going to use a longer, curlier lash, okay, to draw away from that. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, now I'm going down here. For those of you just coming in the room, when you get to your blackboard and you see assignment 1, you're going to see that I put a link in there. If you click on that link, it's everything that I talked about yesterday. I made a video of myself. And like I said, I'm sorry you have to listen to my voice because it's bad. But at least you can go in and take notes in case you didn't take the right note that you need to answer the questions in the assignments or the work packet, okay? All right, so here are our eyelid shapes, okay? Now we're gonna talk about eye spacing on the face. Well, we've talked about this a little bit about this in doing hair, right? We've talked about closed set eyes, wide set eyes, okay? But we've never talked about deep set eyes, and we've never talked about prominent or protruding eyes, okay? Some people do have protruding eyes, could be a medical condition, could just be genetics, right? So let's talk about that. A prominent eye, okay? Prominent is like protruding or bulging, right? Some people do have this. It's a bulging eye, and it looks like it's like out of the socket, like it's a lot larger. You see a lot more of the round shape of the eyeball, okay? So it's bulging or, out, and this says out of the eye socket itself, which would be the orbital bone, okay? Now it says use short to medium lashes that are not super curly. A mixture of B and C curls will avoid overpowering the eyes, making them look even more protruding, okay? So you want to use a B and a C curl. Nothing really curly on this eye. You don't want to overpower it, okay? And you want to also use short to medium length, okay? And what that means is down here it says to use a longer length, okay? Could be no longer than 12 millimeters. So like this lash right here is probably long, but not super long. So there's also lengths of lashes that you're going to learn. There's length and there's curl, okay? There's both. And then we have our deep set eyes, okay? So deep set eyes set deep into the skull and they're sitting further back into the brow bone, okay? So they're further back, okay? Go longer lashes. Nope. Oh, okay, yeah. Go for a wispy mixture of short and long. So it's short and long lashes with extra length and even a CC or D curl. This will draw the focus from the brow bone to the center of the eyes. Okay, so you can do a mixture, longer lashes, CC or D curl pattern. Okay, the whole point, and then you can do a little bit of a wispy mixture, okay, of short and long. Okay, you don't want them super curly okay? But you want them to have a little bit of curl. You want them to have a little bit of length because you got to kind of trying to draw the eye out, okay? You got to draw the eye out. Close, set. That's when the eyes are very, very close together, okay? Close set eyes. The space between the eyes is less than the width of one eye. Remember how you measure that? Width of an eye, width of an eye, width of an eye. Your eye should be, whatever the width of this eye is how far your eyes should be apart. If they're closer than that, they're close set. If they're further than that, they're wide set, okay? And that's really important too when you're doing makeup, when you're coloring hair, okay? Because always remember, if I want to push the sides in and put focus right here on somebody that has wide set eyes, I would put some highlights right here, okay? If I had somebody with real wide or real close together,
You'd put dark.
Wide, I'd put dark right here, and I'd put highlight right here. Close, I would put dark right here and highlight right here to try to draw them out. Same with like when you put on makeup. If your eyes are real close together, you want to put a lighter color right here and right here to make them look further apart. My eyes are far apart, so to put a darker color here and a darker color here to draw them together is the way to go. Okay, so like I said, you're just trying to trick the eye into what it's seeing. Okay, most people do have like pretty good symmetry when it comes to that, but close set eyes go longer on the ends, obviously, more of a cat eye style because you're trying to draw this out, so that makes sense, right? Longer on the edge or on the ends, okay? Maybe even like a cat eye style. Okay, would be good for that. But wide set eyes, you need to give offset the extra space by using longer lashes in the center. Okay, you can't put longer lashes in the front part because that looks unnatural because no one has long lashes right here, right? They go from short to long, short to long. But start adding the long more centered, and it'll draw it over and try to draw it in. So wide set. Longer lash. Until the center of the eye. Just make sure it's not too, make sure it's not too long in that inside corner because that would look stupid. And then use similar length all the way through till the ends, okay? So when you're doing somebody that has wide set eyes like mine, this first area that you do till you get to about the middle, you can make those a little longer than what you would put on someone normally. Not too long, of course, but a little bit longer than normal, and then really stretch those out, okay, to make them a little bit longer. Similar length all the way through, okay? Once you get to the center, because you're building length, when you get to that center, use the same length and fill it the rest of the way out, because you got to make it look normal, right? Longer lash until the center of the eye, similar length till the end. And when it says the end, the end, the end, the end, they're meaning till the corner, like over here where it stops, okay? Then there's a little piece in here on facial shape. Well, we've all looked at facial shape many, many times, okay? So let's talk about it again, because we've talked about it in hair, right? This is nothing new, okay? So an oval face shape should be what? Oval face shape, 1.5 times longer than it is wide. So if this is, let's say, 8 inches, this needs to be 12 to make an oval shaped face or to have the right proportion, right? Remember, you divide the face into 3. Forehead, 2, brow, nose, chin, right? Everything needs to be proportioned, but a nice oval shaped face is always going to be 1.5 times longer than it is wide, okay? Forehead is slightly wider than the chin also. So then when you divide it into 4, this is going to be a little wider than the chin space. Not too much wider, or your triangle, right? Or heart-shaped. So there's a trick, but slightly wider than the chin. And you're talking bone structure here. Okay, you're talking bone structure. Best lash on an eye shape and eye spacing is oval face. It's already balanced, so as far as the shape of the face, you don't have to worry about it. Just look at the shape of the eye and go from there, okay? But what if somebody has a round face and deep set eyes, okay? Now they've got a round face, which is an issue, and deep set eyes, which is also something that you have to take into consideration, right? Use longer lashes in the center of the eye to lengthen and diminish the roundness, okay? So if their facial shape is round, you want to draw attention away from that as well, okay? So you've got to take their facial shape and then their eye shape into consideration, okay, when you're doing it. So it's just like hair cutting, where if somebody had a round shaped face, where would you put height in the haircut? Right here, okay? If they have a round shaped face and you're going to give them eyelash extensions, okay, where do you want to put the length in the eyelash extension? In the center, okay? It's the same thing. This is the center, in the center, okay? So think about those things. It's the same thing. Square. I have a square face, okay? Use longer lashes in the center of the eyes to lengthen and diminish the jawline. So it's similar to the round, right? I'm trying to give height, okay? But I have a square face. So do I want to have cat eye lashes put on? No, because it's going to make me look real wide through here. My thing is the same. So my eyes are also wide set. So what does it say to do with wide set? Longer lashes until the center of the eye. So in my center of my eye, because now I'm square shaped, maybe I need something a little longer than normal, okay? And then proceed, right? So those are the things that you have to take into consideration. Okay, so what we have here is round and square, okay? You're gonna want length in the center. Okay? Triangle shape, meaning a narrow forehead, okay, and a wider jaw. Where would you want to add width if somebody's facial shape was like this, right? Where do you need width? Out here, right? Right here, out here. This is where you need width. Okay, this is where you need width with their hair design too. So this is where you need width if you're gonna put lashes on them. So what kind of lashes would you use? You would create more width at the forehead by applying long, thick lashes evenly across the eye. You're gonna bring those eyes out, okay? So the triangle, okay, you're gonna do width at the forehead, just like you would with their hairstyle. Okay, width at the forehead. Long, thick lashes. So you can use long, thick lashes all the way across, okay? But what if they are triangular shape, but they have a deep set eye? You don't want to use real thick because that's going to really make her eye look dark and probably set her eye back further. So if she had deep set eyes, I would use a wispy mixture maybe but I would add my longer lashes out here, okay? But maybe I would use more of a wispier mixture of lashes because her eyes are deep set. But I could still put the longer lashes where they needed to be to help with her facial shape. Does that make sense? See, this eyelash thing is far more deeper than I ever thought. I just thought you just glued on hairs on people's eyelash hair, okay? This gives me a whole new appreciation for the art of doing this, okay? And this is why when I go out and I look at some people's some of their lash work, it is beautiful. You would never know they had artificial lashes on. And then some, you look at them and you're just like, that looks dumb because it doesn't look real. And I'm not talking about these fake strip lashes that are crazy out to here. I'm not talking that. I'm talking actual like an eyelash extension. Like somebody that I've looked at and I thought, that does not look good. And they all look the same. It just like, you paid for that, you know? I would rather be an artist if I was doing this, just like I am with everything else. You know what I'm saying? So you could really separate yourself from the norm if you get into doing this, right? Oblong. What is this face shape if it's oblong?
Oval.
Yeah, it's oblong. Yeah, it's just long. It's too long versus how it is wide, right? It's just a real long face, oblong face, okay? So an oblong face, if it is narrow through the sides and long, where would you need to put the longer extensions if the face is real narrow to make it look wider? Well, where would you put the hair to make it look wider? Here, right? Okay, so you're going to put the lashes here to make this draw out. So an oblong face, you're going to apply longer extensions on the outside corner. Okay, so oblong, you're going to have them longer in the outside corner. Okay, then we have our diamond and our heart-shaped face. They're the same, but just in a different spot, right? Your heart-shaped face is a wide forehead, really narrow chin. Diamond has a narrow forehead, wide cheekbones, narrow chin, okay? So it's still wide through here, narrow through here, okay? Diamond is tiny, wide, tiny, okay? But your heart shape is wide to tiny. So right through here, they do have the same shape, okay? And what it suggests is longer lashes on the outside corner of the eyes by using long, thick lashes across the entire eye, okay? So accentuate both diamond and heart-shaped faces by using longer lashes on the outside corner or by using long, thick lashes evenly across the eye, okay? So for diamond and heart, it wouldn't seem to me like you would put longer ones on the outside edge. Like maybe you would use like more of a medium because this is where they're wide. So that doesn't really make sense to me. I veto that. It could be a mistake, who knows? But I don't know if I'd go super, super long on that outside if they're already wide through here. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I do understand using thick lashes evenly across the eye, okay? Because it draws to the eye. You're taking away from, you got to do something to take away from this tiny chin, right? You got to make this more prominent. So I can see that. Let's see, longer, even though I don't agree, longer in the corner. Okay, and you can use thick lashes across, long, thick lashes all the way across. Okay. Okay, so if the question is, how would you apply lashes to someone with deep set eyes? You would say, I would use longer lashes, CC or D curl. I would use a wispy mixture of short and long, and I would have a CC to a D curl. Okay, because those are the kind of questions, right, that it asks you on this work packet. That's why we're going through all this. Okay, now we're going to go through the growth stages of the hair, and we talked about that a little bit yesterday. We already know about the growth stages of our hair because you guys should remember that from when we had hair, when we talked about it, right? There's 3 stages. The first one is anagen. Who can tell me what it is out of memory? Anagen is your what phase?
Growth stage.
Yes, it is your growth stage. Okay, you've got to take these things into consideration when you're doing someone's lashes. Okay, because you cannot set a lash on someone's eyelash that is full grown. Because you know what's going to happen? It's going to fall off because our eyelash is going to shed. We shed eyelashes more than you think. We just don't always see that we're doing it, right? But we do it. So, as with any other human hair, the eyelash follows a growth cycle. Knowing the stages of this cycle is important because this will allow you to select the correct lashes for extension application, ensuring that the extension looks their best and lasts as long as possible. Okay? So the anagen stage is when the lashes are undergoing new growth. This can take about 4 to 7 weeks. And honestly, you guys, this is when the lash is the shortest. It's where it's growing, it's coming up out of the follicle, and it's just starting to grow. That's the anagen stage. Okay, so think about all those little lashes that you can barely see because you can barely see them beyond your skin. Okay, that's the anagen stage. Okay. Application of extensions at this stage is not recommended because they tend to weigh down the natural lashes. It's not long enough. It's not thick enough. It can't support it. Okay, so this is not recommended. Okay, it is not recommended at that time to put on lashes because they weigh down the natural lash. It'll weigh it down. Okay, think of something that's super, it's kind of like, and my husband, God bless him, he'll come up with the craziest ideas. Like he'll take something that's only sticking out of something this far and try to glue something on it that's like really long and really heavy. And it's like, do you think that little bit of whatever is going to support all of this? No, it isn't going to, right? It's going to like fall right off or even break it off even further, and it's like, it's not long enough to support it. So it's the same thing with your lash. It's not long enough to support it. It can result in premature detachment. Okay, so this could be premature detachment. Believe me, you don't want to sit and do somebody's lashes for 3 hours and have them call you the next day and say that half of them fell off or whatever, right? Prematurely. Okay, you don't want to go through all that. Additionally, lashes applied during the anagen stage will look unnatural once the natural lash reaches its full growth. So think of that. If something's only coming out this far and then you glue something on it that comes up like this, when this is long enough, it's going to look like that, okay? That's not natural. That doesn't look right, okay? So you have to only put lash extensions on lashes that are at the optimum length, okay? And that's another thing you've got to learn to look for, okay? So, let's see. Extensions 8 to 9 in length are recommended at this phase. So what do you do at that phase? If you see a lash that is at an anagen stage, you choose a different lash than what you were choosing. You don't ignore the lash completely unless you feel it's a good idea. You just have to use the right lash that will stay on that, won't weigh it down, and will grow out right, okay? So these are usually 8 to 9. Okay. During the anagen stage, the eyelashes are weak and the artificial lashes may put on too much weight. This can cause damage or slow down lash growth. So you can actually damage someone's lashes and impede the growth of their lashes if this stuff isn't done right. Okay, if they have these and you're just sticking people, that's why it's scary that people are out there learning how to do this or not, and they're just doing it. Okay, because there could be some serious issues to follow, and I'm not talking infection and disinfection and all that. We already know that, but all this other stuff is important too. Okay, so then we move on to the catagen phase. The catagen phase, you can really see that the hair is there, okay? It's not as long as it is in the telogen phase, but it is there. You can see it. It's a little more pronounced. It's probably about halfway to the telogen stage. Telogen stage is a full-grown lash, full-grown length of a lash. So your catagen stage really meets about halfway. It is the transitional stage of hair growth between anagen and telogen, and lasts about 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so this is 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, is where this is at. It lasts about 2 to 3 weeks. At this stage, the lash has just finished growing. Okay, so this is just finishing growing. It has finished growing. Now hear me out, because I'm not done yet. I know you're going, what? What the hell? Hear me out. This is the ideal growth stage for an extension placement. Okay, so this is the ideal stage for an extension to be placed. This is the ideal stage. Artificial lashes applied at this stage will last longer, look more natural. Extensions 10 to 12 are recommended. Then we come over to the telogen. Telogen stage is the resting stage and can last for 14 weeks. Lash hairs in this stage are at their longest, darkest, and coarsest. So notice that they said growth. So I guess as it's sitting there, it develops even further, okay? Even though it's in a resting stage. It's starting to lose, what it's all about the follicle bulb, right? It's about what's happening down there, right? It's resting, and now it's going to release from it, okay? So this is the resting stage, 14 weeks. This is where they are their longest, their darkest, and their coarsest. So yeah, as your eyelashes grow in, when they're real new, they're not as dark as they are when they fall out. And they're not as coarse as they are either. Okay. This is an acceptable stage for placement, although lashes at this stage, they're going to shed more quickly because they're getting ready to shed. And they're longer. So the weight is also going to play a factor. Okay. So this is acceptable, although they're going to shed quicker. Okay. So this is an acceptable length, but they are going to shed quicker. And they say 12 to 14 in length are recommended. Okay? That is the anatomy of the eye. Okay, so this is assignment 1 with what we did yesterday. So you should be able to go now to Blackboard and complete assignment 1 that was in Blackboard, and you can answer up to this portion in your work packet as well. Okay, so you can answer some questions in your work packet as well as the assignment 1, okay, because I had to make all of these assignments. So assignment 2 is diseases, disorders, and allergies of the eye, okay? So I think we'll do a little bit of that tomorrow. And then there is infection control and all of that. But what I'm kind of worried about is that Ainsley and I had a system on how we were going to put all of this together, and now I'm kind of worried that I'm hoping that I may have to Monday before Mari gets here just kind of make sure that we go over application and stuff, because I didn't do that when I knew that Ainsley was coming. But I do want to, it's only 1 o'clock, so I do want to keep going with the disorders and diseases, okay? So now we're going into more of assignment number 2, okay? So now we're going into assignment number 2, which is disorders and diseases and allergies of the eye, okay? So, responsible eyelash technicians must understand and be able to recognize the types of eye, eyelid, eyelash, and eyebrow disorders and diseases. They are very often contraindications to getting this service. So what does that mean?
No.
It means no. They're the reason that you can't do it, okay? Or they're the reason that you would recommend them to see a physician, or they're the reason that you can tell your client that, you know, you're just not comfortable with doing it at that time because you've got A, B, or C going on, okay? And usually you have to refer them, obviously, to a medical person. Allergies and other contraindication that you will need to screen and test for before providing services. Although sensitivities can be a contraindication as well, it is important to consider the role that sensitization can have on the longevity of your career as an eyelash technician. Okay, there is a difference between sensitization and being allergic. Okay, there is a difference between the two. Okay, so here we go. Providing eyelash extension services requires an understanding of the eye structure, common eye-related problem, including potentially contagious disorders and diseases. Some things are going to be contagious. Okay, I don't know whose music that is, but turn it down because I can hear it.
That's outside.
Tell them to turn that down because I can hear it. Get him, Asia.
Why is it that loud?
Is it Mr. B? It's Mr. B over the loudspeaker, isn't it?
I think.
It sounds like his crazy.
Yeah.
It sounds like his crazy music. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. It's not fine, but it's fine. Okay. Allergies and sensitivities are common contraindication. So, you need to do a patch test when you do an eyelash extension service. Have any of you guys had eyelash extensions?
Yeah.
Did they do a patch test on the adhesive?
No.
I know, right? Ainsley did me. She had me come in the night before and put it on because I had never had lash extensions before, and she was like, you know, let's make sure that you're okay with the adhesive. You guys, if you put something on someone's eye and they have an allergic reaction to it and you don't patch test them, that is bad. That's way worse than hair. That's way worse than somebody getting a freaking rash, right? That is bad news. So please do a patch test with these adhesives if you're going to get into this. You need a consultation anyway beforehand, right? So that you can actually meet the person. And you know, another thing Ainsley did, just FYI, hip pocket information, she made me pay half of my service down. Because she charged $150 to put my lashes on, and she's a friend of mine. So I went in for my consultation. She talked about my eye shape, how she was going to place them, how long it was going to take her. She took a $75 payment and did a patch test. Okay?
What'd she do? Just glue like 1 or 2 lashes on, or just use the glue?
She just used the glue and did a couple of lashes just to see. And I did put a little bit right here too, but she wanted to see if it would make my eye water or anything like that too. And she obviously knew what she was doing. So yeah, but a patch test is here. Yeah. Being able to identify an unexpected adverse reaction early. And I'm gonna tell you guys, if you get any questions on state board, you know damn well what that they're gonna be on, right? They're gonna be on this. What are you going to do? And if there's an adverse reaction, how do you not have an adverse reaction? And I would think tools, the different tweezers and tools, okay, that you're going to need. I can't say for sure, but I have had a couple of students say to me they've gotten questions on the adhesives and the tools. They may only ask you 3 or 4 questions, but you know, don't get them wrong, right? I mean, don't get them wrong. So this is what we're going over. You should avoid serving a client with an inflamed eye, an inflamed eyelid, because those are disorders. There's something going on there, right? So the first one I want to talk about is blepharitis. Ooh, doesn't that sound peachy? Blepharitis. That sounds just like a really groovy name of something. Okay, so we have blepharitis. It is inflammation of the eyelid. Okay, so it is chronically difficult to treat and causes dry eyes and occasional crusting and flaking. Okay, after sleeping. So that might be a good question to ask someone. When you get up in the morning, do you have a lot of crusting and flaking in your eyelashes? Because you know what? People might not even know they have this kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like, who goes to the doctor and gets diagnosed with blepharitis? I don't know, maybe somebody, right? But this is chronic, which means it's what?
Never goes away.
Never goes away. It's there all the time. Sometimes, this is chronic. Sometimes it can be better than other times, okay? But it is chronic, okay? And this is a crusting, flaky, and it's on the eyelid. This is like crusty, flaky on the eyelid, okay? Light sensitivity, discomfort, or burning eyes, okay? It is usually caused by staph, but can occur from other causes. It's not contagious if left, it is not contagious, and if left untreated, it can cause lash loss and could lead to blindness, okay? So this is the biggie, okay? You may want to ask your client, do you have any light sensitivity? You know, does light bother your eyes? Do you have problems with light sensitivity? Do you have discomfort or burning, like in your eyes? You know, do they bother you? You know, because this is staph. Okay, this is a staph, and this is caused by staphylococci.
But they said it's not contagious?
But I said it's not contagious.
Can it ever turn contagious, or does it not?
I don't think so.
So strange.
You think it would be contagious?
If it's staph, would you get like antibiotics for it, or?
Well, it says it's a chronic condition, so I suppose that you probably could. But it can occur from other causes. So this could be maybe a natural disorder. Maybe it's something naturally that you have. Like it could be caused from staph, but it could be caused from something else. Maybe it's a hereditary thing. I don't know. If Grandma Jean has flaky, itchy eyes, maybe she has the blepharitis. I don't know. It's interesting though. Conjunctivitis. What is that, peeps?
Pink eye.
Pink eye. Okay, I'm not even going to write it down because you know what that is. It is pink eye. Highly contagious. Burning, red swollen eyelids, extensive tears, irritation, discomfort, crusted eyelids. This though gives like a discharge. You know, if somebody has pink eye, they'll wake up in the morning and their eye is like slammed shut, right? Because it gives off a discharge, okay, out of the tear duct. Okay, this is highly contagious. Conjunctivitis. Okay, I don't even think I need to write it down. Allergic conjunctivitis is inflammation of the conjunctiva due to chemical irritants as shampoos, dirt, smoke, pool chlorine, pollen, perfume, and cosmetics. Allergic conjunctivitis is not contagious and usually subsides with the help of eye drops. I think that's interesting, okay? So we've heard of conjunctivitis now for a year, you guys have, but if you get soap in your eye, then you have what is called allergic conjunctivitis, okay? You're having an allergic reaction because soap ain't supposed to be in your eye, right? Dirt's not supposed to be in your eye. Pollen's not supposed to be in your eye. Your eyes are extremely sensitive. Smoke's not supposed to be in your eye. Okay, so when you're sitting out around that bonfire and the wind abruptly changes and you get a lot of smoke in your eyes and your eyes are burning, this is what you have, but it is not contagious, right? It usually subsides with eye drops. So I put that down. Demodex. This is actually a bug. And it looks disgusting. It looks it's that.
But it's like microscopic. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like that. It kind of looks like those weird, it's like a worm. It's weird. It looks like those things that are in your grass, eating your grass up. And they're slimy. People eat them on like Naked and Afraid. You know what I mean? Like they're out in the jungle and they have to eat that crap because they're starving and they're stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, like worms, like those grubs. It's like a grub. It's like gross, right? But Demodex is a microscopic mite. Okay? Microscopic mite. It will burrow into and live inside of the eyelash hair follicle. Lives inside eyelash follicle. They burrow themselves in there. And when they take over, they can cause you to lose your lashes, causing eyelash loss and potential blindness. Demodex infestation can be the result of dirty, unkept lashes, untreated blepharitis. So yes, that answers our question. It can be treated with like an antibiotic, obviously. You would have to treat blepharitis if you had it, okay? And it occurs more often in older adults and those with compromised immune systems. And this is contagious.
Wait, so untreated blepharitis can lead to this?
Yes.
So
Or
it
it
might
can turn into something that's contagious.
Yes. So it
blepharitis
can
turn into something contagious.
Yes, it can. Especially if these little homies show up.
Ew, that's so
Ew,
gross.
right?
Don't call them that.
This is an infestation though. It's an infestation. where there's many.
How did I get there? They appear.
Dirty,
You said
unkept lashes or untreated blepharitis. I mean, I don't know. You're dirty. So what do you think they're doing? They're
Living.
They're eating off of your crusty eye.
But also, don't we have like actual small mites that live on our lashes
I
anyways?
think so. Yeah, I mean, I've
I'm
always
like-
been told so.
I was like,
They
I've
live
always
in the
been
air.
told that we actually do have
So
mites
maybe
that,
at a point they could be doing a good thing,
and they turn bad.
but then if there's an infestation because you're a dirty bird,
Okay.
or you have blepharitis, then they might increase, and then you've got this huge infestation. It really doesn't go
Okay.
into it, but yeah.
Probably something interesting to look
Yeah,
into though. and
kind of
research
something
on.
interesting to look into. Okay, so it is contagious, can lead to a problem, can make your own eyelashes fall out. Okay, can cause blindness. Yeah, gross is right. Okay, so sty. Anybody ever had a sty?
Yes.
Yes, they hurt, right? Well, think of those glands that we talked about yesterday. It's inflammation of a Zeiss or a meibomian gland. Now, remember, where were those glands located?
Beginning of the right, like underneath. the
Yeah,
eyelid.
underneath. Underneath the lash line and in the follicle of the lash line. Okay, so when those glands get inflamed, those glands will get clogged, right? And then all of a sudden, you've got this sore bump on your eye, and they hurt.
Isn't it just like
so
heat?
sore.
Just a warm pump?
Oh
Like
man, yeah. But I've actually gone and gotten medication because my son used to get them all the time. A sty is an inflammation, like I said. Of the Z's. Is that IE or EI? I do not know. EI, Z's, or the meibomian. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. I just sound it out phonically. Bomian gland. Okay. It appears as a painful red bump and it is on the eyelid. Okay. So this is a red bump and it is painful.
Has it been the same song?
I think it is the same song. You know, Mr. B. You're missing it. Mr. B's got us singing his whatever it is. You're missing it. Lucky you. Okay.
Not contagious.
And now there is a staph bacterial infection on the inside or the outside. Let's see, it occurs when infection is in an oil gland inside the eye. And external is when bacterial infect the root of the eyelash or one of the sweat glands. Antibiotics and anti-inflammatory drops can help heal. So there are standard styes, and then there is this word. I think it would be called hordeolum. That's how I would say it. You hordeolum. Okay. So this is an inflammation. It is caused by a staph bacterial infection. Okay, so this is an inflammation of the same area. Okay. This is caused by staph bacteria. Maybe I better not put this on YouTube. I don't know if it's private or not. I hope so. Caused by a staph bacterial infection. It's either on the inside or the outside of the eyelid. So on the inside, it occurs when it is in an oil gland inside of the eye, like in a meibomian gland. Okay, because remember, these glands, they are oil glands, right? They are sebaceous glands. They are oil glands because you've got to have oil in your eye for a couple of things, right? It helps the water stay in your eye and it keeps you from crying, right? It can keep your tears up in your eyes. That's why sometimes your eyes will just fill with tears, but you don't quite cry because you've got enough oil around the surface of your eyelid to keep it in your eye and keep it from coming over, which I think is it's all fascinating to me. So internal hordeolum occurs when the infection is in an oil gland, and external is when the bacteria infects the root. Okay, because remember, one of these glands is in the root of the follicle. One of these glands is actually behind the eyelid, which would be internal. Okay, so internal.
The Z's is external.
Okay, so the Z's is external, so the meibomian is internal. So internal is when it is in the meibomian gland. Which is an oil gland, and external is when it is in the root of the eyelash or in a sweat gland. Root, it'd be in the root of the lash or in a sweat gland. Okay?
And that's contagious, I'm guessing.
Antibiotics and anti-inflammatory drops can help treat a hordeolum. I don't think, it doesn't say anything about it being contagious or not contagious. I don't know if that bacteria, because if it would pass on from person to person. I don't know.
No.
I mean, no, but I mean, that's why you use like disposable spoolies and you use all your disposable things. And if you're using tweezers to put lashes on somebody, that's why you clean and disinfect them, right? But I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's an eyelash tech out there that gives everybody styes in their eye. I don't know. It's possible, I guess, if they're not doing it right. Then I just have a few more I'm going to squeeze over here on the side. Okay, and I know I'm blocking it, but we're making good headway here. I don't know how to say this word.
Sound it out.
Chalazion.
Or is it Chalazion?
Chalazion.
Sounds like something better.
Chalazion. That sounds like a name somebody really weird would name their kid. This is a swelling or a lump on the eyelid. So this is swelling or lump on the eyelid. It does kind of look, it does kind of look like, it still kind of looks like a sty. Like, don't you think that this swollen eye, I mean, it kind of looks the same as this swollen eye, right? So how would you know the difference, right? So,
Is that one like?
it is caused by a buildup of material within the meibomian gland. The gland becomes blocked and chronically infected, becoming a granuloma. The clear, oily material inside the gland becomes opaque and greasy. This is not a bacterial infection, so I guess that's the difference. Although it is less painful, it takes longer to resolve, and topical antibiotics don't work, and you may have to have surgery to get rid of this. Okay, so this is not bacterial infection. Okay, where a sty, this kind of stuff all in here is caused from bacteria. Okay, this is not a bacterial infection. Let's put that down first and foremost. Okay, it is not. Buildup of materials within, the meibomian gland. I don't know if you guys remember this, but back when we were doing facials and we were talking about oily skin, the number one thing that gives our skin problems is oil. Sebaceous glands. They are the reason for a lot of the problems that we have in our bodies. Honest to God. Dermatitis, eczema, psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis, seborrhea, acne, all these things. Now you've got styes in your eyes. Now you've got Aunt Chalazion also paying you a visit, right? All due to these sebaceous glands in your body, and that's what your meibomian glands are, right? They're your oil glands in your lashes. So if there is a buildup of material within these glands, they get blocked. And then that causes a granuloma, which if you remember when we talked about the nail diseases and disorders, there's a granuloma that you can get in your nail diseases and disorders where it forms a lump under your nail, right? So always remember that a granuloma is a lump, like a grain, and it can be the smallest thing. You ever had a small rock in your shoe and you thought you were gonna die, right? And you had to get that small rock out of your shoe, and you get it out and it's like freaking like nothing, but it felt like you were standing on like, you know, a cement block in your shoe. So this is a buildup of materials. And when it says materials, we all know what that means, right? Dead skin, probably. Built up oil that gets blocked in there when it says materials. And this is in your meibomian gland. And it becomes an oily material. Well, yeah, because it can't get out, right? So it becomes an oily material and you may need surgery, okay? So it's a buildup of materials. It's oily materials, okay? And you may need surgery. And then you've all heard of rosacea. Well, there is such a thing as ocular rosacea. I never knew that. Makes me feel bad. Everybody I ever saw that had like red eyes, I just thought they were drunk. Maybe they had ocular rosacea, and I never knew. It is an inflammation of the skin surrounding the eye, appearing as red, swollen, and highly sensitive eyelids or skin, possibly with broken blood vessels and acne-like bumps. Clients with ocular rosacea experience itching, burning, dry eyes, blurred vision, makeup sensitivity, and acute light sensitivity. It is most common in adults with fair skin, hair, and eyes, although this condition almost feels like pink eye. Ocular rosacea is not contagious. And it does look very irritated, like after you swim and you get a lot of chlorine in your eye, it looks like that. And you know, after I read this the first time, I go to church with a lady who has rosacea, lots of sensitivities, and she can't wear any eye makeup.
In the eyeball? That's that picture?
Mm-hmm. In the eyeball. And I can remember thinking, well, I can see with her rosacea why she can't wear like makeup on her skin. I could see why that would bother her. But like eye makeup, like not even mascara or anything, well, you know why? Because she has rosacea, she probably has ocular rosacea. And that's why she can't wear eye makeup and do things like that, because it irritates her. I've never seen her eyes look like that, but who's to say they don't? I mean,
and that's just the red on the whites of the eyes.
Mm-hmm. That's where that is. Yeah. But it says it's inflammation of the skin also surrounding the eye, appearing red, swollen, highly sensitive eyelids or skin, possibly broken blood vessels, and little acne bumps. Now my husband has rosacea, and you know I've talked about that with you guys. He does get acne bumps up in here, and he does have milia on his skin, which is that buildup of the keratin, you know, that puts those little bumps on the skin. That's what milia is. They're not filled with anything. They're just like over too much keratin, and they have a little bump there. Yeah, so ocular rosacea. Very interesting. Then some people have dry eye syndrome. You know, healthy tears have 3 layers. The eye can dry out if any of the layers are produced in the wrong amount. The oily layer keeps the tear from drying out. The salt layer, that is so interesting. So, I don't know. Am I out of room? Not really. I'm not out of room. So, you have healthy tears, people, and your tears are made of 3 layers. Your outer layer of your tier is oil. This keeps it from drying out. Your middle layer is salt, which helps flush out foreign bodies. Okay, so the oil keeps it from drying out. The salt helps to flush your eye of stuff. That's why when you go to flush your eye, what kind of a solution do you use? Saline, which is a salt solution, right? Makes sense. Now I know why. So smart. Without this, we produce a sticky substance from our eyelid glands causing irritation. And then the inner layer is that mucus layer, right? Conjunctiva of the eye. So we actually have a layer of our tear that is mucousy. Okay? So then our inner layer is a mucus inner layer, and it contains protein. Because what does protein do? It holds them all together and keeps them from sliding off the eye. Without this inner layer, the eye can more easily become overcome by allergies, conjunctivitis, and other disorders that cause the crusty sticking together of our eyes. And then it goes on to talk about dermatitis. But you guys should already know what dermatitis is. Dermatitis is generic term for?
Allergic reaction to something.
Yeah, like an irritation to your skin, okay? You've had skin inflammation or irritation, okay? Allergic is when it comes in contact with a chemical, okay? Repeated skin contact with a chemical could then make you allergic to it, okay? And then there is an irritant contact dermatitis, and that's just when you touch some, like you put your hand in a bowl of barbicide and now your skin feels itchy, okay? That is an irritant contact dermatitis. Now, if you keep doing it, could you possibly become allergic to it every time that you touch it and it gets worse and worse and worse? That is allergic dermatitis, right? So that is the difference between those three. But it says here that adhesive removers and lash lifting solutions, which we don't get into lash lifting in this, because there's lash lifting in this and brow stuff in this book. We are just doing the lash extension portion, okay? But it says in here that adhesive removers are examples of products with irritant potential. Contact with irritant chemicals can damage the epidermis because the irritant can enter the skin surface and cause inflammation, redness, swelling, itching, and burning, and repeated exposure can worsen the condition. So the whole point of this kind of stuff, you guys, is to know that when you do these lashes, you could have a client that you do a couple of times and she really doesn't have a reaction to what you're doing, right? But then she comes back again and then she calls you a couple days later and she's like, man, you know, my eyelashes are, you know, like my eyes are really irritated this time. And you're thinking to yourself, I've done nothing different. But what could be different? She could be different, right? She could be reacting to it different. So that's why you got to stay on your A game, right? You've always got to stay on it.
Or anything affect their reaction to adhesive?
Oh, yeah.
Like if it hasn't formed and they're on a new medication, it could affect it?
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. You've got to stay in good touch with your clients.